know, when most Black Americans, African Americans think about Africa as a home, they usually think South Africa and Western African countries.
Yeah.
We rarely choose or Kenya.
Right. Kenya.
There has been a call for Black Americans to return back to the continent of Africa, and Ghana is one of the preferred destinations or countries where Black Americans relocate to. However, a lot of Black Americans do not do any research or just little research before relocating to the continent of Africa and Ghana in particular. And this therefore leads them to going back to the America after experiencing Ghana. Let's listen to this lady in this interview and you get to know why she failed to be able to live in Ghana, her lack of preparation, the poor mindsets of the locals in Ghana, poor infrastructure in Ghana, and everything that led to why she couldn't survive or live here in Ghana, but had to move elsewhere.
Let me tell you, Ghana has a very special place in my heart. However, I think I wasn't necessarily prepared for the infrastructure of Ghana. I wasn't prepared for the mindset of a lot of the locals there. I wasn't prepared for how the government operated. And so once we were there, you know, month passed, 2 months passed, 3 months passed, I said, wait, well, okay, hold on now. And you know, how we had to go about doing different things. I think it just was a reality check. And, you know, nobody can prepare you for repatriation. People can give you all of this information until you are in the thick of things. You have to experience it for yourself. And so it just didn't work for us at the time. It really didn't. It didn't work for us. We weren't comfortable. Made great relationships, but it just wasn't the place we wanted to stay. So we decided we had saved a good chunk of change. And so we said, look, we're going to pick, you know, a few countries that we want to travel to, and we're going to go check them out and see how this works out for us. Which country do we think we can call home and be comfortable? And so we set out on an Africa trek.
Right.
Yep. So we decided to travel to the countries that we had put on our list. We were going to stay there no less than 30 days a piece. We were going to look into what residency looked like there, you know, all the immigration requirements. What were the requirements to establish a business as a foreigner? Like, we really did some real homework on those countries. And we set out on that journey, and it was wild.
No. So can you take us briefly down the road? You left Ghana and you decided to go where? Where did you go now?
So after Ghana, we did a little stop in Togo. And that wasn't necessarily somewhere we wanted to stay, but we happened to have a friend who had a friend there. So it was kind of on our way to Cote d'Ivoire. So Ivory Coast was our next major stop. Now, once we got to Ivory Coast, we realized the language barrier was going to be somewhat tough to work around. And to be honest with you, we didn't really like how, this might rub some people the wrong way, but we didn't really like how Cote d'Ivoire was very European. Cote d'Ivoire, when we got there, we knew that it was heavily French influence, but we didn't realize how much. So it felt...
You wasn't feeling that?
No, because it felt like what we had just left, only that, you know, everybody was speaking French. So we stayed there again, made great connections. But from there, we left there and we headed to Senegal. Now, Senegal was great. Senegal is beautiful. However, Senegal is also very Muslim. So there was, okay. Look, and this is the things you got to take into consideration, right? Yeah. Language barriers, religion, all of those things, and you're not going to know until you get there.
Exactly.
So that was, and we were in Dakar, and so even though Dakar is being built up, or at that time it was being built up, it had this still like old world feel to it too.
Yeah.
So that was another thing, and again, heavily French influence, right? So they're either speaking whatever their mother tongue is, or French, mostly French.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was hard to kind of maneuver around there as well. So that wasn't gonna work. Left there, we went to Cape Verde. Oh God. Okay, so again, y'all, language, even though you're like, they're speaking whatever their language is that they're speaking, maybe a form of Creole or Portuguese, whatever colonizer language was left behind. In my mind, I'm thinking, but somebody got to know English, right? Or English has to be one of the main languages. That's not necessarily true. So that made it very difficult, especially when it came to doing business or trying to do business. Did not work, y'all. So Cape Verde, Morocco. Well, Morocco was kind of one of those, like, we could do Morocco. However, being in Morocco is like you ain't even in Africa no more sometimes. Northern Africa on a whole nother tip. Absolutely beautiful. People treated us like royalty, but very Arabic influence, Middle Eastern, like it feels like you have left the continent.
Yeah, so you it felt more like you was in the Middle East.
Yes.
But Northern Africa?
Northern Africa, you know.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I can say that bothered me a lot about being in Morocco. So there were a lot of continental Africans in Morocco from mostly Western African countries. So a lot of Senegalese, a lot of Gambians, and a lot of them are up there for work. Being in the same space, I did not like the way we were treated in comparison to them. The natives or the locals treated continental Africans from other African countries like trash.
Wow.
And although we are all Black at the end of the day, right, in their eyes, we're Black American. Really, we were just American.
Yeah.
And being American and having that blue passport, all of a sudden we had privilege that we had never had before.
Yep.
So it actually made us kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like to be sitting at a table with some guys from Senegal and they come straight up to us, ask us what they want, look at them and just walk off. And I'm like, hold on, but yeah, like stuff like that. And it would be little things, but they made it very, very clear we don't deal with them.
Yeah.
So that was uncomfortable.
That wasn't going to work.
That was going to work. Then we took it over. West Africa was like, we love y'all. Okay, we're going to try East Africa. I'm just saying. So we went to Egypt. Egypt, I think, was more so not necessarily somewhere we were like, we could stay here, but it was somewhere we needed to go. We wanted to go and experience. I can actually say Egypt is a place that is doable. However, also heavily Middle Eastern-ish feel. But when we met the Egyptians that were from southern Egypt, so Aswan, or what most people know as Nubia, it was a totally different experience. They was like, y'all are the original people.
Yeah.
And that was the first time where I could say that I actually felt like,
okay.
Because East Africa was never like really on my radar. You know, when most Black Americans, African Americans think about Africa as a home, they usually think South Africa and Western African countries.
Yeah.
We rarely choose or Kenya.
Right. Kenya.
So you don't really think about that, but hearing, a lot of them talk about like, hey, think about southern Egypt or Sudan or places like that was not on my radar. I'm like, man, this okay. So there was that. However, they had a lot of conflict going on, so that was another thing.
Yeah.
You don't think about civil unrest. You gotta think about these things. So left Egypt, went to Ethiopia. Now, I can actually say Ethiopia is somewhere I think I could probably live. I felt extremely comfortable. There was a sense of ease. What I loved about Ethiopia is I didn't feel a presence of any other culture besides Ethiopia.